All right, friends, greetings. Welcome back to the Abel Speaks podcast. Okay, something we get asked often is just the general, you're in the elevator, hey, Abel Speaks, what is that? What do you do? And so we have certain, canned statements. We have our elevator pitch, so to speak, our mission statement, our vision statement. We could say those things now. I probably will in a minute. But one thing we found helpful too is once we're talking about the actual ministry and what we do, you're aware of this because you're listening to this now and you're here. But hey, what are the things that make Abel Speaks unique that kind of set it apart from other organizations? And so as we brainstormed that and lit up the whiteboard and all the things, we drilled down into these 3 unique components that we feel like there are probably a lot of organizations that do 1 or 2 of these. There might be some that do all 3 of these.
We are unaware.
We are unaware of them.
Yeah.
If you do all 3 of these, God bless you.
Reach out to us.
Excel still more.
We'd
Reach
love to
out.
connect.
Let's be friends and all that. But let's just walk through these 3 uniques.
Great.
Unique number 1. What is it?
I mean, is it niche or niche? You know what I'm saying?
That is an interesting question. I've heard it both ways.
Yeah, I don't know
It
what's
feels
right.
a lot more elegant when you say niche,
Okay.
but
I kind of like niche personally.
I'm
but
more of a niche guy myself.
okay. I think that makes
I feel like
sense.
we're more of a niche
people.
people.
Yeah. So
And so
do
that
what
might
you
be
will
our
with that
might be our 4th
information.
unique. We're people
Yeah.
that say niche when it's probably actually niche.
that's right. Yeah, but we serve a very specific niche, meaning that the demographic that we serve, which are families who have received a life-limiting diagnosis during pregnancy, is something that most people aren't even, the general public isn't even aware that is a something that describes a group of people. And so, and a group of parents that as they become pregnant, they find out, whether that's at 12 weeks or 20 weeks or at some point along the pregnancy that their child will probably not live for very long outside of the womb. And so there's not a lot of other people that are serving that specific demographic.
Yep. And there's a lot of great organizations that are in the space of kind of like pregnancy and infant loss that help people walk through that. General like grief recovery ministries, but not necessarily like, hey, we solely, our sweet spot, why we exist is you got pregnant, you learned during the pregnancy or shortly after birth or whatever the scenario is that this journey is going to look different.
Yeah.
And
there's something I think unique about the knowing in utero while the baby is still alive, but we haven't met them yet outside of the womb, and that we know that we might have, another 20 weeks or another, 30 weeks to carry this child that if the diagnosis holds true, they more than likely will not have a lot of time alive outside of the womb. So just that time piece, I think, makes it a really unique group of people as well.
yeah, navigating the unknowns of the journey, particularly if you find out early in the pregnancy. Yeah. And then there's even great organizations that serve like specific communities, like the trisomy community,
Right.
and more, even more thinly sliced than us. So with that said, our first unique is a very specific niche, families that have chosen to carry a child with
That's
a
right.
life-limiting diagnosis. The second unique is what?
Rooted in relationships.
Okay.
And so as a ministry, we spoke about this on the last podcast that we just did as well. But as a ministry, we are rooted in relationships because we've seen that support changes stories through relational, being a relational ministry is something that we've seen really change the trajectory of someone's story. We can provide resources and information and really tangible things, celebratory things, but the heart of Abel Speaks is the relational element.
Yeah, and there's some great organizations, once again, that do exist to be kind of like a resource hub of, hey, this is an underserved demographic. Let us, compile, post, share some things that might be helpful in the informational sense and are. But we've really built around that idea of the gift of a community of other people that have walked a similar road that can now walk with you. And
Yeah.
so,
And that's just something that we experienced in our journey with Abel, just that, and ultimately I think just how God created us, just to come alongside one another and be in the boat together, and to carry one another's burdens. That's what we get to do as the church and as the body of Christ. And so that's why we feel so passionately about it. It's something that has changed our story, and we've we see it throughout the scriptures, and we also have seen it in other people's lives, that is the intangible that really makes the largest impact. And so when we started the ministry, we decided that we were going to go deep instead of wide. And so other ministries might provide, more breadth, but we really wanted to, one family at a time, really provide the relationship piece, which is messy, and it's the hardest piece, which is why I think often people don't do it. But we wanted to dig in and be willing to sit in the mess and in the tension and in the hard spaces with people as they walk through the valley and as they are suffering in ways that are hard to even put words on.
Yep. And in all of this, by the way, I should have said this up top, this isn't like we're going to unpack for you why we're better than every organization.
But we are.
No, we say all these things with all humility, just like, hey, here's our sweet spot. Here's our combo.
Right.
What other people are doing is awesome and exactly what God has called them to. Here's what we feel like God has called us to. And so that is having the very specific niche / niche.
Right.
Having a ministry that is rooted in relationships. And then third and final unique feature.
Memorable celebrations.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I think as we started Abel Speaks, really how this piece came about, I guess, is that we were given just like really wonderful keepsakes to remember Abel. And then we were given some that were less preferable. And so what I often experienced, I guess, is that people would provide things that the concept was really good, but the quality wasn't quite as great. And so I really wanted to provide both. I wanted to provide something thoughtful
and beautiful.
Yeah. That's right. And so we've put a lot of thought into creating a variety of keepsakes that we give to families that are really great quality that will last a lifetime, but also are really aesthetically beautiful and something that you want to, and functional, something that you want to display in your home that reminds you of your child and is done in a very beautiful way.
Whoop, there it is. All right, recap, 30-second recap of the three.
Well, I would say too, on the beautiful piece, I think I really value that because I feel like the Lord is like super creative. And I mean, just look at his creation, whether we're talking about humans or just the world, nature, all the ways that he has created so many animals and plants and the ocean and all of these like beautiful creative things. And I feel like he puts that in each one of us as well, of this just ability to use our minds and our hearts to create beautiful things that are pleasing to us and hopefully pleasing and beneficial to others.
And reflective of the beauty in these stories that are also very hard and painful in a lot of ways, but that nonetheless are beautiful stories. And seeing that in the context of customized, personalized items that bear the name of our children just speaks in multiple levels of all that you just said. And so that's something that Kelly has always been very creative with and passionate about. And so that is one of the unique features of our ministry that now, for real, 30-second recap. 3 uniques. Number 1, a very specific niche serving an overlooked and underserved demographic of parents that have chosen to carry a child with a life-limiting diagnosis. Number 2, being rooted in relationships, providing relational, personal resources as a ministry being rooted in relationships, that's the kind of support that truly impacts and changes stories. And then third, memorable celebrations, creating commemorative keepsakes, facilitating joyful memory making, and equipping families to experience joy and hope even in the midst of sorrow, and seeing the redemptive beauty in every story, and then reflecting that beauty in everything that we say, everything that we do, everything that we create. And so at the end of the day, that is why we exist, to provide personalized support that changes stories. We feel like that is the triple Venn diagram. As you combine those three things, what is at the center is what Abel Speaks aspires to be and do. And so any final words before we button this bad boy up?
Nope, that's it, I think.
Okay, great. Well, those, again, are kind of the three foundational things that we've built the ministry on that we feel like makes Abel Speaks, Abel Speaks. And so thank you for trusting us with the time to even check us out here on the podcast. We hope that you'll continue to learn more about us, and we hope that if you are a parent walking through a life-limiting diagnosis with your child, that we'll have the opportunity to do and live out and carry out all of these things with you personally. So thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time on the Abel Speaks podcast.